good enough, like, honestly.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the official Sheffield United podcast and the latest episode from the one of our own season. And joining us today is a serial promotion winner. He is the king of the ping. Can I coin that phrase? Has it been coined already? I'm not sure. I don't even know if he likes it, but it's none other than Oliver Norwood. Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you. Yeah, thank you for that. It's a nice introduction.
I hope you know what you're letting yourself in for.
Yeah, I've watched a couple. I've watched Bashes and Sharpies and Warnock's one actually, which was good fun. I enjoyed his documentary that he did all them years ago. I thought it was hilarious, and there's still things go around now, isn't there? From
there is him and Chris Morgan.
Yeah,
that's the classic bit.
Moggs at the training ground actually the other week, but that was funny.
Yeah.
That was proper football, wasn't it, back then?
Absolutely,
Those were the days, and I think he's now the ways football's changed. I mean, I've seen the change myself. He probably won't get away. Players probably won't react to that, but back then they would, and I thought they were the best days when you give out a rollicking and your team reacts at half time.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Right, lots to discuss. We're going to start right at the very beginning. Born in Burnley.
Yep.
12th of April.
Yep.
1991.
Yep. A few of the lads don't believe that.
We're off to a good start. We're off to a good start. Let's start with the upbringing, really. What was it like for you? Do you have siblings, for example?
Yeah, I've got an older brother. I just genuinely always remember playing football. That was, as you know, there's not really much in the town. It's a northern working town, and you know, I always say to people when people say, "Oh, Burnley," or it's a, I don't really want to swear, but it's an S-hole, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm proud to be from there. You know, it's where I'm from, it's where I was born, where I was brought up. Never actually had the opportunity to play for them, which is, I get asked quite a lot and get told quite a lot by a lot of people that I turned down the opportunity a few times, but it's never actually been put to me, so I'll put that on record. But yeah, I mean, my earliest memories is, as I said, playing football. Just loved football. Everything was a ball. Socks, taping up paper, you know, everything was just about playing football and just obsessed. And you know, going through school, I've never really been a real outgoing, confident, arrogant person in a way, but always quietly confident that I knew I had the ability to play football. So yeah, I always through school I was just determined, and that's all I had in my head, that I was going to be a footballer. And I dread to think if I didn't be a footballer where I would be today, because I was that headstrong on being one and that determined to make it. And went into the academy at Man United at 6-year-old. My mum actually lied and said I was 7, because you had to be 7 back then to sign for the academy, and it was Paul McGuinness. He pulled us and said, you know, like, when it's come to it, you're too young. You're only 6-year-old, but we like what we see. You can come and train for a year, and you know, we'll see how it goes. And if you progress, we'll sign you into the academy at 7, which luckily impressed, and I stayed there for the best part of my life. For 15 years I stayed there, so great memories. I mean, just as I said, all I can remember being a kid is just training, playing football, and just obsessed, and probably missed out on quite a lot of things, but that was by choice, because I wanted to be a professional footballer, and always the dream to play for Man United. It never happened, but that was always the dream.
A lot of us have had that dream, but never get to fulfil it.
Yeah.
Did your studies at school, for example, suffer as a consequence because you knew what you wanted to do? And even then, you must have known, your parents must have known, that the chances of becoming a professional footballer, no matter what talent you had, were still probably very small, as it is for a lot of kids growing up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was bad in school. I got my grades, I got what I needed to get.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just always had in my head that I love sport. That, you know, I was always football first, but you know, I loved cricket, I loved golf, anything with a ball. You know, I was, as they call it, sport Billy. I just loved playing sport, and every break time, just remember, it was cuppies, weren't it? World Cup, twos, and whoever was in goal, and that was it. Every break time, and it was just obsessed with that. And I wouldn't say I was the brightest or an A-star student, but I did enough to get myself by. And at 16, I remember, well, I knew at 14 I had a scholarship at Man United to go into full-time at 16 as soon as I left school. So maybe at 14, took my eye off the ball a little bit at school, and I'm okay but I remember it was Tony Whelan and Dave Bushell who was in charge at the time, and we had quite a decent group at 14, 15 who, we had Danny Welbeck, Matty James, Joe Dudgeon, Corey Evans had come in, Danny Drinkwater, a lad called Scott Moffat who was a really good player. I think Makeda had dipped in and out, coming over and going back to Italy. So we had like a really good group of players, and we all knew at 14, 15 we were getting scholarships as such at 16. So, and I remember a few of us had started being a bit, I'd say boisterous at school, and we were quickly told that it won't be acceptable if these grades aren't met, and your studies are important.
Did you have a backup plan?
No.
Ever? No.
Never. I was a professional. As I said, I tried to think where I'd be if it didn't come off, but I dedicated my life to it, and I genuinely did. I still have the same group of friends now who I went to school with. I still knock about with all the same lads, but they kind of knew that, I wouldn't be out at the weekends. I'd be training. I'd be playing on Saturday morning, Sunday morning. I'd be training 3 times a week, and that was just it. That was my life. I saw them at school. Didn't really have much of a social life outside of that, but I remember them always saying Paul McGuinness, Tony Whelan, Dave Bushell, this, it's not a job, it's a chance of a lifetime. Yeah. You're at Man United, and you've got to give everything you've got to give yourself the best opportunity to make a career of it. And you can maybe get carried away at times and think I'm a Man United footballer, and you're not really. You're just another academy player at that moment in time, but you're wearing that badge, and as I said, the dream was for me to always play for them. It never happened, but
you came close though, didn't you?
Yeah, I got in a couple of squads.
Squad.
Yeah, I remember. I never forget that.
That must have been an
there was a bit of a backstory
experience
to that, because we trained on the Sunday, and a few of the lads got told they were travelling. I actually got told just before I wasn't going to be travelling, but we trained, and I think I was the only one who wasn't going to be travelling, and it was Mick Phelan was the assistant manager at the time, and he was actually from Burnley as well, Mick, so not that that's got anything to do with it, but I remember after the session the squad went up, the old school days, the squad went up on the wall, and I was actually, not that I expected to travel, but I saw all the other lads were, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I saw Mick on the way out, and I think he genuinely thought, God, he looks absolutely distraught, like all the other lads are travelling, he's not. And I remember getting home, and he rang me. I literally drove home, and Mick rang me later on that night and said, I forgot. He played it really well. We forgot you to put you on the list. Make sure you come in the morning, get your tracksuit, because they had a different tracksuit for Champions League. That's how it were. Get your suit, meet at the airport, and you're travelling. Wow. Okay. Like, it was Wolfsburg away in the Champions League, and I was just like a sponge. I genuinely went there, and I was like, wow, this is just different level. This is just incredible. The preparation.
So the players in that squad, tell us.
They had a few injuries at the time, and I think it was a bit of a nothing group. I think it was the last group game. So it'd have been Thomas Kuszak, Wes Brown, John O'Shea, Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Michael Owen, Giggs. I don't think Rooney travelled. Anderson, Orbitan at the time.
Not bad.
Makeda, top class players.
Did you room with any of them?
No, that was the thing. Everyone got their own room.
Oh,
so I was like, wow, we're in this 5-star hotel. Everyone's like, private plane, never seen anything like it. But honestly, I was just like, wow, this is just next level. And then I'll never forget the team meeting. It was Dzeko, Edin Dzeko, and I think it was Obafemi Martins up front at the time for them. And Dzeko was unreal. And Ferguson's team meeting, he just said, the big man up top's not bad. That was literally the tactics. I was like, I was expecting this massive meeting on tactics. They're going to do, the big man up top's not bad, and make you talk them through the rest of it. And it just went through tactically how they play, what they did, and it just, like as I said, just took it all in. Trained at the stadium the night before, just unbelievable. And then wasn't actually on the bench, was in the stands, and I was sat with the masseur, Rod Thornley. And he must have been annoyed with me because I was just asking so many questions. I was just talking about the game. I was just, I think it was at the end, like, oh, just take it all in kind of thing. And I remember Michael Owen scored a hat-trick. I got him to sign the programme afterwards, and that's a nice little memento to keep. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even Michael Owen then, I mean, the player he was, and then you sat chatting away to him, and it was just surreal. Like, you sat having dinner, and Paul Scholes and Michael Owen, Anderson, as I said, the names, it was a proper Man United team then, and I think they won the Champions League. I can't remember who beat them that year, but they went close. I think they might have lost in the final that year to Barcelona in Rome. It might have been that year. So it was a special team. It was a good time to be around.
So you go from that, and then you find yourself at Carlisle on loan.
Yeah, but yeah, and I was desperate to get out on loan though.
End of the spectrum.
I was desperate though to just, because some of the lads had been out and they'd come back, and they was talking about the dressing room and playing for points, and we back then you're not on the most money. You're on your first year YT's £90, your second year's 110 until you're 18, until you sign a professional contract. It's not, you're not on big money. So the reserve team bonus was decent playing there, but then you get to 19, 20, and not that you outgrow the reserves, but you're kind of used to playing at that level then, and then it's like, what's next? I'm not ready for Man United's first team. I'm not going to play in the first team. Let's be honest. I remember like pestering Warren Joyce and Solskjaer. Ollie was the resi manager at the time, and what a legend, by the way, one of the nicest men ever met. And they were kind of, for themselves, keeping a team around because they wanted to win the reserve team league. Yeah. And we had the best team. We won the reserve team league that year, and I remember the final. We had Ben Foster in goal, Rafa, Fabio were the two full-backs. I think Wes played centre-back with David Gill's son, Oliver Gill.
Right, yeah.
His dad was the chief exec at the time. It was me, Corey Evans and Magnus Akram, and then we had Bebe, Marm Diouf and Gabby Orbitan for a reserve team.
Wow.
And then Aston Villa put their team out, and theirs was like all the big hitters from their team. So it was like a first team game sprinkled with a few reserve team players. And I remember we won it, and Ollie was buzzing and Joycey were buzzing. But I remember saying to him after that, I need to go on. Like, there was a few of us in that group where we've not outgrown it, because you don't want to sound like you're too good to play for Man United reserves, because that's never the case. But it was a time to go and play men's football, and I think that was the best thing for me going there, because I was maybe a bit comfortable. Probably when you're young, you don't realise nutritionally, how you need to look after yourself. You think you can get away with eating rubbish food, really, and thinking, it's all right, burn it off at the weekends, just eating rubbish, and that was one side of it that I needed to learn. And when I remember going to Carlisle and thinking, wow, like the intensity and the speed of the game caught me out. They must think I was Egon and undone what he's done. He was crap. They must do, because I wasn't. I hold my hands up. I didn't do particularly. I didn't pull any trees up.
It was Greg Abbott, was it?
Greg Abbott, it was, yeah. Greg,
good
it was
character.
really good. Graham Kavanagh was there. He was brilliant. Cav was such a good
player in his own right.
Really
anyway.
good player, but training he'd empty people, through the back of people, nail people, but such a nice man. You think, how can you do that to people? And they're so nice. But it was a rude awakening for me. I think it made me realise, the comforts of being in the academy, as I said, and having everything to go into Carlisle. And they gave me a boot boy, and I was like, I don't need a boot boy. I remember at 19, I was like, the lad, I think he was older than me at the time. I was like, no, I'll look after my own. And we didn't have a kit man. I think they got one later on. He'd do the kit, but he wouldn't do the boots. It was a case of they'd do the boots. But yeah, it made me grow up. And I remember I got a little injury I think they were quite happy to send me back, to be honest. And then it was in between that I went back, and I was a bit overweight. Wasn't really, as I said, really looking after myself. And it was Warren Joyce. He got me in and sat me down, and he just said, "How have you found it?" And I said, "Oh, I've struggled a little bit, I'll be honest. I didn't think I've done great. Don't think I've pulled any trees up. And he just said, "Look, I'll be honest, I don't think you're fit enough. I don't think you can handle the game. I don't think the men's game, you can't get about the pitch. You're great when you've got the ball, no problem, never have had any problems with that, but you can't physically get about the pitch." And that's one thing they've said. They've left you out a couple of times because the game's a bit physical, and they maybe can't trust you a little bit without the ball, and especially in League One, a lot of the game is without the ball. It's not as pretty as some of the stuff that you see higher up the leagues, and especially at that time. You're talking 12 years ago, 13 years ago, so football's changed a lot in that time. And he said, he sat me down, he said, "What do you weigh?" I think I was like 75 kilos, and he was like, "No, you need to be 70 kilos. I said, "Well, how do I do that?" And he sent me into the kitchen at the back, and there was literally 5 bags of sugar, kilo bags, and he said, carry them. So I carried them in. He said, "You're trying to run around the pitch carrying that." Yeah. And I've seen Joyce said it since, and he's done an interview since, and he said, "Oh, well, Paul Scholes was 9-10% body fat. I was 17-18% body fat. So how do you expect? He's the best player in the world anyway. Yeah. So how do you expect to even compete if you physically? He's a better passer than you. He's better on the ball than you, but you can't get about the pitch anyway to even get close. So how do you expect to make a career? Like what?" And it always stuck with me. And I actually saw him the other week, and he said, "Oh, you're still looking well. It's obviously stuck with you." But it stuck in my mind, and that I'll be proud because nobody had said anything up until that point, until Joyce is pulling me in. I think he always thought, he's never said this, and I always just got the feeling of this, that I could have played for he always thought I had the ability to go and play. It's just maybe the timing was wrong. The people who were in my position, I wasn't going to get past them. I'm not deluded enough to think that I was good enough to play for Man United, but I think he thought, if you can get yourself fit, you give yourself the best opportunity, and he absolutely beasted me. So I went back there after about 6 weeks. So up until January I was back there, and he absolutely beasted me. Running every day, made it really hard. This is how fit you've got to be, and he genuinely went out of his way. And I was thinking he hated me, but it wasn't that. He genuinely was like, "No, the one way you're going to make it, you can't let your ability go to waste. You have got to be fit. You have got to get fit." And he was out there, raining, snow. We were doing extras, running, right. And the improvement I saw, so I was like, wow, this is making me feel better. It was horrible. He absolutely battered me. And then I went to Scunthorpe.
With Alan Neil?
With Nilly, yeah, that was the first time.
It's weird how football works sometimes, isn't it? Because you'd later obviously work with him here.
And it was probably a bad time to go, to be honest. And then Brassy was the assistant, Chris Brass, who again I got to know really well. But they were struggling. They'd just come out of the Championship, and Nilly was trying to get us to play a really good, attractive football. He likes his teams to play football, and there was a bit of the dressing room there wasn't great. You had people who thought we can't play this way, and people who wanted to adapt to that, who wanted to be part of that. So straight away
it's difficult.
You're banging your head against the wall because some of the players are going, well, the way to play is this way, and we're trying to coach that way or this way, and you could just see the young lads were trying to do one thing, the other, and it wasn't great, but played quite a few games. Enjoyed it. It was a good experience for me. Grew up a lot more there probably. Again, it's about gaining experience, and did that. And again, my loan came up, I think it was the January. I played New Year's Day, and then that was it, went back.
I see you've glossed over the red card, by the way. Your only red card.
It's a bad tackle, wasn't it?
Not counting.
I think even with VAR.
Do you remember it?
Yeah, it was bad. And I was trying to get them to appeal it at the time, and they were laughing. I've never tackled anyone. And I said, we're actually playing really well the game. It's mad when you mention things, it flashes back, and I think we were winning at the time, or we were definitely drawing, but we were playing really well. And then I just went over the top of the ball on someone and just saw the red card, and I was like, oh no, that must have been bad. But I thought I'd got the ball. It wasn't a malicious one. No. It was one where I'd just gone over the top of the ball, mistimed it, and never really been able to tackle anyway. So still not the best at that ball.
No, I would suggest you got better at it.
Yeah, well, that comes with experience and stuff. Yeah. But it was, like I said, it was a good. I enjoyed my time there. I did enjoy being there because, we had a good group. I'd met Mark Duffy there actually. Again, people you come across who you then later on. Shane Duffy, who I'd played internationally with, and then he changed over, but ended up again playing with Big Duffs at Brighton. Yeah. Sam Johnson, who'd come along from United. So that was the thing with Nilly. He always had when you talk to people, he always had an eye for a player, and I think, the players he brought into Scunthorpe, what they've gone on to do. Paul Scunthorpe, I bet the Scunthorpe fans are thinking, you could have done that for us, Oliver, because we weren't great again. But no, it was a good learning experience, and you find a lot out about yourself. You do, and I think physically, the way the game was going in League One, I don't think I was physical enough to play in that league, and I don't think, even having gone back and done the stuff and got fitter and got that side of the game, they were absolute monsters. Some of them are physical second, and people are shouting second balls, and you think, I'm trying to get the second, I just can't do it. The ball's going over my head, I'm trying to do it, I just can't. But we tried to play. It was just one of them. Try and forget about it now, but it's good. It was a good learning experience, and I think Brassy told me this years later. He said, we actually turned down the opportunity to sign you. And I said, oh, did you? And I said, that's nice. And he said, yeah. He said, Sir Alex had rang Joycey and passed on the message and said, look, if you cover his wages, give him a decent contract, you can basically take him on a free. I think they've just had enough for me. Right. And that Scunthorpe actually said no. So they said, no, we can't do it. We're not, you're all right, you can kind of have him back. And so, yeah, that was interesting. I remember, it's funny, I remember going back to my missus, I was like, because we was together at the time, and I remember saying, like, God, these two ones, I don't think I'm good enough for it, honestly. And she said, it's all right. My dad's got a paint and decorators business. Like, if it don't work out, like, you could have a job with him. And I was genuinely contemplating. I was like, oh, yeah, I've gone to Carlisle. I've not done great. I've gone to Scunthorpe. Not done great again. Where do I go next? Like, genuine question. Like, struggling here a little bit. I've not pulled any trees up. It's not as easy as I thought it would be. I thought I'd go and play and show how good of a player I was. Didn't do that. Like, that was on me. Just didn't perform. And then, literally, it was completely out of the blue. Coventry was struggling at the bottom of the Championship. And it was literally deadline day. In between this, I'd been offered to go out to Royal Antwerp at Belgium. Went out there with Joycey to watch a game. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to convince me that was the right place, and I was just, no, I can't.
Not feeling Belgium.
I just thought, I might as well just retire now, because, as I said, the two loans had gone rubbish, and now they're trying to ship me off to Belgium. Like, they had the good thing with Royal Antwerp, and it's no disrespect to Royal Antwerp by any means. Like, it was incredible, but I was just thinking, I don't want to go and live in Belgium. I don't want to move abroad. It's too early in my career. I'll go over there and forgot about. You everyone always says stay in England as long as you can, but maybe that's changed the last few years. But we flew out, went to watch a game. Joyce's trying to convince me that was the right thing, and then I think even the manager at the time had said, like, no, I don't think that's, we need to try and get some money, like, get what we can, get a club in England to take him and get some money, basically. Like, because like I said, the end had come. I knew that myself at Man United, and then deadline day, got a phone call. Do you want to go to Coventry? Yes or no? Like, you've got to let us know now. Yeah, yeah, might as well. Yeah, where how far is Coventry from? Oh, it's 2.5 hours. All right, yeah, so I'm like, we'll go, we'll take it, yeah, and go and play in the Championship. And that was, although we got relegated, I genuinely loved playing every second there. It was brilliant. The people in the dressing room, the manager, just let them play with freedom. It was like, that was with them when I could really express myself and really played really well, did well, and thought I can handle the Championship. Like, right, although I struggled in League One, which sounds a bit weird, but you get a bit more time on the ball in the Championship, and without being disrespectful, playing with better players, playing in a system that suited me. We played with a diamond. I'd play at the back of the diamond, and the manager just get the ball and pass it, get the ball and pass it. That's all I want you to do, get the ball and pass it. Oh, this will do for me, perfect. Well, I don't have to get the ball, pass it. And we went down, but we had a really good team. We had Joe Murphy was the goalkeeper. We had Martin Craney, again, another one who would come back with. Richard Keogh were the two centre-halves, really good players. Cyrus Christie or Jordan Clark was right back. Chris Hussey, who ended up here. And then it was me, Sammy Clingan, who was a really good player. Gary Deegan, a really good player. We had a lad, Alex Nimley from Man City on loan. I don't know what happened with him actually. He was a really good player, and then he just never saw him again after Coventry. Big Clive Platt up top, who now, well, does he work for me or works with my agent? I don't know if he works for me, but he works with my agency now. So again, somebody who I'm associated with, who you end up like being good friends with through football. Platty was brilliant though. I always remember that big man, like, he's huge in it. And I just remember putting his arm around me first day. We'll look after you, and I was like, this is class. And he was brilliant for me. You know, little bits of advice, like just learning the game, like when to hook things around corners. Not that Platty'd run into the channels, but he'd stand there and say, hit my feet, don't hit there. I'm not running there, or they hit me here. But yeah, we had a decent team, and we took it from January. They was doomed. So Andy Thorne was the manager, and he was like, lads, just give me everything. Literally, empty everything. Give me everything you've got. We'll give it a go. See where we can get. And we nearly got there, and it was the bank holiday weekend. It's always pivotal, isn't it?
Yeah.
We lost both games, and that sealed our fate a little bit. It was tough because, like I said, I genuinely really enjoyed my time there, and they had all the difficulties going on in the background with the ownership and all stuff like that. But within the dressing room, it was brilliant. Some great characters and people who, you know, you stay in touch with for years to come, and people who you cross paths with again, and some really good players who forged really good careers. And like I say, it was difficult what they were going through at the time with the ownership and being pushed out the stadium. Ended up getting kicked out and all that stuff. That was after I'd gone. But I remember Thorny rang me and in the summer, oh, we're going to get you back. We're going to. I was yeah, fine. I knew I'd play if I went there, and the way he wanted to play, and the man. And then they started the season. They didn't start great, and nothing ever really materialised. It never really. They never had the money that United were asking for on compensation and all that kind of stuff, and it never materialised, and often it never really came. And it wasn't as though I'd turned them down. It just nothing materialised, and they went in a different direction. And as I said, with relegation, a lot of stuff went off in the background at the club that's, you know, out of players' controls. A lot of people left, and it was such a shame because, you know, you see the support they've got, and you know they came so close last year with us.
Yeah,
it was great. It's great to watch. You know, and we'll speak about Gus probably after, but you know the way he played for them, and you know, he was the heartbeat of that team, and Guy Carrez up front, who I'd been with at Brighton. I'm saying to people, like, he's a top player, like, even at the 21s at Brighton, like, he was brilliant. But yeah, it looks like they've got the energy back. And Mark, who, again, had him at Huddersfield, has done a great job there.
He has done a great job. Just going to fast forward a little, because you had a spell at Huddersfield.
Yep.
And Reading.
Yep.
promoted at Brighton,
Yep.
promoted with Fulham whilst on loan,
Yep.
and then you end up here.
Yep.
Tell me how that happened, because am I right in thinking that Hull had shown an interest?
Ending up here.
Yeah, at Bramall Lane.
How long have you got?
Well, okay, one of them, is it?
Yeah,
but,
it was.
But were Hull trying to get you before you came here?
Yeah, it was. So I was. So, rewind a little bit. So after Fulham, they messed about whatever in the summer. I went back to Brighton for pre-season, and Brighton said, "Look, you can go if we get." I think they said a couple of million quid. You can leave. Like, we're happy to. They're going on to bigger and better things. No problem. No issue with that. But it was the way that it got frustrating because I'm living in a hotel down there with my wife and a newborn baby, and they basically I wasn't going to be involved, and I was just like, oh, just let me leave, like just let me go. I'll take a pay. I'm not bothered. I'm never been more money orientated anyway. I'm not interested in that. Just kind of let me go. Yeah, but we want this, we want that. And I was like, right, okay, but you don't want me here. No, right. So this is where football, in a way, gets a bit murky because a club's telling you they don't want you,
Yeah.
but then you can't leave until they're happy. Which I'm not saying I wanted to leave. I was just like, okay, I've still got a contract, whatever it'll be. I'm not too fussed, but can I go here? No, they won't pay that. Well, you've told me you don't want me, so where can I go? We'd been promoted, so with promotion, wages increase.
Yeah.
Clubs obviously don't want to, in the Championship, don't want to pay Premier League wages. That's
common sense.
That's common sense. That's
Yeah.
business. That's good business. Not going to want to. And Hull dithered all summer, and yeah, we're going to put the bid in. We're going to do this. It was Nigel Adkins, and I've got nothing but respect for Nigel. He signed me for Reading. I enjoyed playing for him. Him and Cross, who was the assistant here as well. They're gonna put the bid in. It just kept getting later and later and later in the window, and I was just like, well, what is going on? I'm stuck in a hotel in Brighton. I'm ready for coming. I'm just ready to get in my car and just drive home. And it got to the point, the last day of the window, I genuinely, my missus had drove home with the baby at the time, and I went into Brighton on deadline day, and they're still messing about, but it's a business, isn't it, at the end of the day? And I remember going in and just saying, look, like, just rip my contract up. I'm willing to just walk away. Like, listen, just rip it up. I'll just walk. I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. I'm me. I'm out. No, we'll sort something. I was like, it's deadline day. I'm in Brighton. The nearest club's within 6 hours drive. Like, where am I going to go now? I can't physically. You're messing about. And I didn't realise at the time that the loan window had a 2-week extension back then, but they've closed everything now on the same day. Yeah. So, well, if nothing happens, you can go. And I said, I'm not staying here another day. I need to go. Like, genuinely, I've had enough. I'm stuck in a hotel room. I've got a baby. I need to get settled. You're telling me you don't want me. Like, just let me go wherever. Yeah, but we need. And I was right. Okay. Completely out of the blue. Nearly rang me. The most random thing ever. I'm right, Ollie, all right, yeah. What are you up to? Nothing. They've told me I can leave, but they won't let me go, basically. I don't know what they're doing. Hull have put an offer in, it's not enough. Hull are messing about. Oh, would you come to Sheffield United? I was like, well, yeah, if you want me to come, yeah, of course I will, 100%. Right, leave it with me. This is getting late into deadline day. Chris then rang me. Listen, don't worry about it. We're going to get it done. So oh well, I'm thinking. Well, I've heard all summer that Hull are going to get it done. So at this point, I've jumped in my car and decided that I'm driving home. I'm just coming home. I'm just not going back in. At this point, I've packed my car up, rang the chief exec, Paul Barber, who, to be fair, he's a really good guy. He's really good, and I think I spoke to him. I just said, "Look, Paul, I mentally I've had enough. I'm ready to just quit. To be honest, I can't come in anymore. I can't. You're telling me I'm training with the kids. I'm not part of it. I'm not expecting to be part of it. But you're telling me like, what do you want me to do physically? I don't know what to do. So I'm going home and I need." And he was like, "Oh well, Sheffield United have been on." I said, all right, have they? Well, let me know how that goes. I just lost all faith. I'm going home. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm on the M6. So then he said, oh, well, and then my agent rang me. And I said, Paul, I'm going to have to go with my agent. And he said, I genuinely broke down in the car because I just said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm driving home. I don't know what for. I don't know where I'm going. I'm just literally driving to my house that's near Manchester, and I've just said to my missus, I've had enough. And she said, well, if that's how it's going to be, that that's, if you just walk away, like, you can't just keep doing it. And so I said, right, I'm done. Broke down in the car. My agent, I remember, he's just pulled the car over, and I was like, no, I'm fine. He's like, just pull out. Like, so I remember pulling onto the hard shoulder, and he was like, look, I'll get it sorted, just give me an hour. And I was like, so I said, I'm nearly home. And he went, you're not in Brighton? I said, no, I'm driving home. Right. Oh, right, okay. So I said, I'm driving. So I got home, and it was getting close to midnight, and nothing. Then Sheffield United Chris had rang me, and he said, look, we just need to move a player on. He's going. Like, he is going, 100% he's going. Look, we're running out of time to get the permanent done because they're messing about there, and it was Lee Evans to go to Wigan.
Yeah.
They're messing about there. Anyway, listen, like, hand on heart, it's going to happen. Like, we'll get this sorted. If it's not today, we can do the loan. We've explored every option now. We can, and I wasn't aware that I thought everything shut, and I was like, oh, right. So I cheered up in there, and then they tried to get it done in time for me to play at QPR. It was QPR away. They tried to get it done on that Friday for me to play. So Chris said, oh, you're in Brighton, obviously it's not that far to London, you can meet us at. And I said, oh no, I'm in Manchester. And he just started, he said, what do you mean? I said, oh no, and I said, I've had enough, I'm gone. And he went, well, would you drive back down to London? I said, well, if you get it right, yeah, I will, but yeah. I'm nearly in Manchester. And oh, right, okay. We'll probably leave this weekend then. And I didn't forget he said, we'll probably leave this weekend. And he laughed. But then Chris rang me back and he's like, we're going to try and get it done. We'll try and get it done for tomorrow. It's got to be done by 12 o'clock Friday. Anyway, it didn't get done, and he was on the foot. They got beat. Was it 2-1? And I think that they'd lost the third game of the season. Was it the first year?
They didn't have a good start.
No, they'd lost the first three. And I was thinking, God, they've not started great, but like my memory of Sheffield United, the first year in the Championship was when we played here with Fulham.
Yeah.
The 5-4.
Oh, yeah.
And like that team that night, the Sheffield United team, I was just like, wow, that must be unbelievable to play in. And I knew the physio from Brighton, Paul Watson, who was physio, and I remember speaking to him after, and I was like, that'd be unbelievable to play for him. Like, that just looks class. And he's like, he was just saying, oh, it's brilliant. Like, and I went, yeah, but it's just full throttle, everything. Like, so everyone's led on the back in there. Like, we can't believe how hard that was. Like 5-4, and two lads scored hat-tricks. But it was going up until the 90th minute, and I remember Chris was chucking strikers on and going for it, and we were like, oh, God. Like, but that was my first memory of playing at Bramall Lane was playing against that, and I was thinking, I'd love to play in that.
Yeah. The
crowd was up, like, what an atmosphere, like, this is unreal. So I remember so it got to the Monday, everything was done, everything was agreed, so I signed on loan to January. Luckily, ended up, Chris, you don't have to take a pay cut. Like, you stay on loan until January, and then we'll take over that from January, like, because we're not having to like basically do it up until then. So I was like, oh, brilliant! Like, it's actually worked out all right. This, and we played first training session. It was good, just getting to know the lads as you do on the Monday. And Chris, we had Hull here on the Tuesday in the Carabao Cup, and I keep calling him Chris. I should call him the manager, really. It's mad how he
won't mind.
No, but it's mad how you start calling people
mind.
the names, and then he said, oh, we've got you penciled in to play tomorrow against Hull in the Cup. So I said, oh, right. But I'd ignored a phone call in between coming here. So then Hull was like, oh, we've agreed the same deal with Sheffield United, so obviously we'll get that done. And I ended up turning around going, you can do one. You've had all summer, you've pissed about and annoyed me. No, I'm not coming now. I'm going Sheffield United. But and then we get them in the cup here on the Tuesday night. And I honestly think that's one of the best games I've played. I was that like charged up for playing a game. I'd not played a pre-season game really, not really had a pre-season. I was just buzzing to be playing football, and
that style of football.
That style of football, everything. I mean, they weren't even that big of a crowd here, and I was just buzzing. I remember I didn't really sleep the night before. Stayed in the hotel actually, the Copthorne, which was my home for about 3 years. But yeah, and I remember just playing the game, and it was actually George always cracks me up with his. He always reminds me. It's the best debut he's ever seen.
George Baldock.
Yeah, and he still laughs about it, and he's like, no, honestly, and I was like, which is really nice, and he still says it. And I remember just coming off the pitch thinking, like, wow, that felt good. I'm at home here. That is me. I loved every second of it. Only went and missed the penalty dinner against Hull and knocked us out, which they probably felt like they got their payback on that. But it's only the Carabao Cup, so.
Yeah,
and not that. And Cros pulled me after, and he said, "All right, we should have got it done." And I was like, "Well, you had your opportunity, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry how I behaved towards the end, and like ignoring you, but I had my heart set on coming here. Then after speaking with Chris and knowing how through Scunthorpe and what a coach he is, loved working with him at Scunthorpe and even more so here. And I mean, the success we went on to have was just mind-boggling. I said, we played Norwich here, first league game that Saturday. Oh, was it Norwich?
It was Norwich.
Was
Your
it
league
Norwich?
debut was
Norwich.
Norwich.
League Norwich was debut.
Yeah.
League debut was Norwich. We won in the last kick of the game. Sharpie.
And Egan got the other one.
Yeah, I set Eags up for them from the corner. And Sharpie scored in front of the Cop.
Yeah, it was.
Last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I genuinely went and I said to my missus, I said, I'd get promoted again this year. This team's... You can just feel it in the team. But it was just more the way we played. No one could touch us. Like, no one could touch Bashir, Jack, Eags, me, Flecky Duffs, Didsy, Sharpie, Clarkey was in the team. And it was just like, wow, this is some brand. And the way the manager was just like, take the shackles off, go and play. If they score 2, we score 3. And he just chucks like later on in the season, everything flashes back. But I remember we won, and then did we play Villa then after that? And wiped the floor with Villa. Was 4-0 up, 4-1 or.
You scored in that game.
Yep, first goal. Yeah,
first goal.
Free kick. But yeah, I mean. That's it. No one could touch us. And I remember saying to my missus, like laughing, like, we're going to get promoted again. She said, yeah, all right, calm down. Like, you've won a game. I was like, no, but it's not that. It's more you just get a feel. And the lads in the dressing room, I mean, I've never been like that dressing room that year. Well, every year I've been here was, big characters, but people who produced. They didn't talk. They just went out there and produced. And when something needed to be said to anybody, you take it on the chin, and if anybody had something to say, they'd say it, and it was just the best decision I've ever made in my career was to come here and
to do it in your first season as well.
Yeah, I mean.
And every player I talked to who was involved in that season, you can just see the glint in their eye.
Yeah, I mean,
I think maybe because
of
where they'd come from and they'd had such a long time in League One. And Chris,
it was everyone said the team of misfits. Well, it was everyone that shouldn't have been in the Championship or in the Premier League.
But it was so magic, and I've spoken to other guests about it. It was such a magical season because, as you say, a bunch of misfits.
Yeah. And we played on that.
Yeah, But the football was like nothing we'd seen before.
No.
Overlapping centre backs and all of that, which we've debated long.
I'd never seen anything like it, and playing in it, it took me a few games to get to grips. And I remember Al went through it on the board with me, and he was like, "Yeah," and he'll go, and I was like, "What, Jack will?" And he was like, "Yeah, he'll." And he wasn't. Jack was like a left back. He was like, "Right, yeah, okay." I said, "Well, what if we lose it?" He went, "I'll just sprint back." It's like, all right, just get it back.
But you would be pivotal in that.
Yeah,
because you're the guy who's
I thrived on that.
Getting the ball
thrived
and
on
pinging it in those areas.
I thrived on being that focal point, get the ball, pass the ball. And if I didn't pass the ball forward, like Chris, he'd absolutely hammer me. Like, don't be safe, never ever be safe. And that was our man. That was the way we went about it. And when I said teams couldn't touch us, they genuinely couldn't lay a glove on us. Like, especially here, like some of the games, you could see in the tunnel. You'd look at the teams, you just go,
Good luck.
Yeah, and we had that bit of swagger about it, that bit of arrogance, bit of swagger, but it wasn't. It never came across as that. It was all built on the foundations of hard work, and the training standards and the training intensity was again, like you've been used to, like having a knockabout and taking it easy, and every day was just full throttle every day, and that were the standards that the lads had set previous coming through League One, 100 points, finishing 12th first year in the Championship, and then Chris going, no, we're not having that, we're going again. But he drove the standards, he drove it, and he pushed us all on and demanded and demanded and demanded, and he took us to the Premier League and we were written off all year that we weren't going to do it, and everyone had a lot to say, which you kind of enjoy those moments when it does come off. And I remember being in the bar in there, and when Leeds drew with Villa and it was confirmed, and the next week or 10 days or 2 weeks was probably a bit of a blur, but
I mean, that's I was going to say, that's what I remember about that season.
The lads knew how to celebrate as well.
Play hard, party hard. And I never tire of talking to you guys about
we'd earned the right to do that as well.
It was amazing.
It was... It will go down in Sheffield United history, and it will be spoke about, that team, and hopefully everyone will be remembered, because it was such a special season, and I think even though we did it last year, it's a strange one, because the affiliation with that first group and how it was done, and we wasn't supposed to do it. It was that feeling of we weren't supposed to get into the Premier League. We weren't supposed to finish 9th in the Premier League in the first season back. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, but we made it happen, and that was, it says a lot about the people within the dressing room and the staff and everybody that drove the standards.
What did it mean to you personally to play in the Premier League? Because having achieved promotion to the Premier League, you never got a chance to play in the Premier League.
No, and I remember saying this, and I had a missed call off Chris in the summer, and I was like, do I answer that? Do I ring him? Do I answer it? And he was asking me about something else, and he had a chuckle, and he went, and by the way, you will play in the Premier League. And I was a bit like, wow, like, yeah, finally, like, because not to cry it in, but you get promoted, you then get pushed aside, you get promoted, you get pushed aside, you get promoted, and somebody finally saying, no, I'm having you, you're going to play for me, you're going to play in the Premier League, and the belief that he put in all the players, I think, as I said, he gave us all that opportunity to be Premier League footballers and achieve a lifelong dream that, as kids, when we all started out, that was the dream, was to play in the Premier League, and we did that.
Did you dream of playing in Europe? Did it go through your mind? Must have done.
Up until COVID, yeah. I think
must have done.
I don't think we'd have been far off. I think it sounds silly to say that, doesn't it? It sounds like you're mad, doesn't it? But and Chris was obsessed with it. We was obsessed with getting it, like, because we'd beat Bournemouth, and then it was the break. We'd won here, and then we had a 2-week break. We went to a training camp in Dubai, and he was just driving it in, and then, lo and behold, COVID it, and it just I think it just took the wind out of us. I think we were fine. We had Newcastle away next, and they weren't the club,
not the
Newcastle powerhouse
that
we're seeing now. No. Everything had turned, and we were licking our lips. Well, we can go to St James's and turn the crowd, and we can do that. And at that moment in time, we genuinely believed we'd just take on anyone, like line them up. Like we didn't care. We were literally like, we'll beat them, no problem. I mean, the game here with Man United, the 3-3 was to do that against Manchester United as that group of players. Like, we just went toe to toe and just said, you're not having it. Like, if anyone's coming here, they've got to earn the right to beat us, and that was the way we did it. And we, like I say, Europe. I mean, it's a pipe dream now, isn't it? It would have been incredible. But even to finish 9th, when I always had a picture when somebody had put up the Premier League table, and it said a lot of stuff about if anyone cares, and relegation, Sheffield United 20, before anything had been kicked, and it just had us. There was no other teams named, and all the people outside the football club who had stuff to say and wrote us off. So to go and do what we did was just, you know, goosebumps thinking about it, what we achieved, and to be part of that group and still be here and still be part of that group and still be part of that core group of players who, you know, we took it on the chin. We were relegated. We weren't good enough that year. The COVID year, we part and parcel of it. We didn't deserve to stay up. Let's be honest. But to then go again, the first year obviously didn't start great with Slav. Hecky comes in and just basically picked up where we'd left off, and we came in the back end of the Premier League. So we actually finished the season okay in the Premier League. I know we'd been relegated, but we won a few. We beat Everton, we beat Brighton, beat Burnley. So we actually did okay. Not okay, but we picked up a couple of wins and thought Hecky would get the job. I don't know. That's not up to us as players. That's not our decision. We're told what to do. Slav comes in and
who you will have known.
Yeah, it was just. How do you describe it? Just wasn't Sheffield United, no. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But on the outside, it lacked intensity.
Yeah, but on the outside, it looked
like it looked
like the perfect appointment. He got the CV.
100%.
He'd been there, done it before,
and still is. Like, don't discredit him as a coach. I mean, I think it was just wrong club at the wrong time, and these things happen. It happened. As we've seen with me, it happens when you go to Scunthorpe and Carlisle. Sometimes it's the wrong place at the wrong time, and I just think the way he wanted to play football tactically, and it was a real slow build up, and
which is a big shift.
Which is a big shift in the way,
move away from where you were.
In the way, the intensity that we was playing at and used to doing, and he used to have to tell us in training, no, lads, like, this passing drill is for passing, not for, this is not running, like, pass, just relax. And lads we were just charging round as we did and trying to train with intensity. No, sort of like, this is like slower, sort of, but that was his way of playing, and it worked at Fulham. It worked at Watford. He's been a very successful manager. You can't knock his CV, but as I said, I just think it was wrong place, wrong time, and then it just didn't work, did it? Let's be honest, it didn't work. Yeah. If you lose your job, but us as players have got to take responsibility for that. We can't just go, oh, that was the manager. We weren't good enough either. We were poor. We'd give too many goals away late on. It just didn't click, and it was getting frustrating. I think within the stands, you could feel that frustration on the pitch as well. At times, you could feel, oh, come on, like, this is a bit like, come on. You could kind of read the script, what was going to happen. We'd have 70% possession, one counter attack, we'd be 1-0 down, and then we'd be back to passing it around, and you're going, we've just lost again 1-0, and we wasted a few games. But then from that November, wow, that was some roller coaster to get to Nottingham Forest.
It's interesting what you say about frustration from the crowd, and I want to jump in there because I've commentated on games here, I've watched games here just purely as a spectator, and you've copped for it.
Yeah.
There's times where you've copped for it. I've been sat next to fans in the stand and I've heard some of the stuff that's been shouted, and I'm like, really? Because you might try a 40, 50-yard pass, it doesn't come off. It's booed, it's jeered. But what I like about you is you never hide. You will do it again and again and again, where some players might shrivel under that kind of pressure. You've got to have a thick skin. But where does that come from? How do you feel when, and because you'll hear it.
You definitely do.
It goes out of play. The ball goes out of play. You're going to hear
I've definitely heard a few.
And
I've given a bit back a few times.
Where does that resilience come from?
I think it's just, I think I've got to a point, not just in my career, but in my life, where like, you don't care what anybody thinks. Like, you've just got to be outside of the manager and your teammates and people's opinion who you value. You've just got to get to a point where you don't care, and that's not saying, I don't care. You care enough not to care what somebody else outside of the dressing room thinks. And I think I changed personally, I think when I had children. I think because I always saw football was be all and end all, and lose a game, wouldn't speak to people for the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, leave me alone, we've lost, I don't want to speak to people. Then you take that home with you, you can't be bothered doing anything, and you just get in a vicious cycle. And then when you've got somebody else's, life to think about, and you've got your own little bubble as such, and I've got a wife and a little boy, and it becomes much more than football is a job. And fortunately, we're in a real privileged position, and to be a footballer, but those years of being knocked back, and those years of Scunthorpe, Carlisle, Coventry, those setbacks, and not thinking, am I going to make it? Am I not? No, I am going to make it. But I think the turning point was personally treating it as a job, and realising that yes, you have to care. And I hate when people go, they don't care. That's one of my biggest pet hates, because they don't go through the emotions of the build-up for a week, and you have a crap performance on a Saturday. You've worked all week for that before, and it's crap. And you go, and you're getting pelters here, left, right, and centre. And I mean, social media has got a lot to answer for. I mean, the stuff in the crowd, I hold my hands up, but I would rather try and pass the ball forward than pass the ball back to my centre backs, or pass the ball into my goalkeeper, because I'm in the team to get the ball to the better players at the top end of the pitch. That is my job. Get the ball to the better players who are higher up the pitch as quick as you can. All right, I'll give it away every time, but if I give it away, I'll try and get it back, and I'm going to try it again. My mindset is I'm doing the best for what the team is. If some bloke in the crowd ain't happy with that, unfortunately, that's me. That is just how it is. And as I said, I'd rather try and pass the ball forward. Yeah, hold my hands up. I'll make the mistakes, but one thing is, I'll always take responsibility. I'll never hide, and 9 times out of 10, majority of the time, I'll get the pass there.
Do you know what, mate? It's worked out pretty well on the whole. I think it's worked out pretty well. But it's topical, isn't it? Because Harry Maguire's in the news at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it's
former Blade.
I think it's disgraceful.
He's getting absolutely battered.
It's disgraceful, and I think I came off social media in the COVID season because it got too much. It did, and people, it's not. You don't even mean to read it or when you say you don't care, somebody could say, well, you're literally flicking through, and then you see posts and comments, he should be doing this, he shouldn't be getting paid this week, he's giving the ball away, he should be doing this, he should be doing extras. And you're just thinking, well, I don't need to see this. I genuinely don't need to hear it, don't need to see it. If you don't see it, like I say, I'm so out the loop in terms of social media. I've no interest in it whatsoever. I have a personal Instagram account that I have my friends on, and that's about it. My missus, about 50 people on it or something like that, where I'm numb to the outside world. But it's an hard one to say where that resilience does come from, because it's hard. I've seen teammates crumble. I've seen people go, and you don't mean to, but you subconsciously you think, and you hear the, it's not nice. I tell you, it's not nice. But I always remember Chris always saying, if you don't get on the ball, I'll take you off. Simple as that. I don't care if they're booing you. You keep getting the ball. You keep getting the ball, and you keep doing it. I'll take you off. And that was something that stuck with me, and I thought, right, well, even if I keep giving it away, he's got my back. He's the manager. He's picking the team. So I must be doing something right if these managers keep picking me. And I always say to people, when people go, oh yeah, but and I always say, well, yeah, but if we didn't make mistakes, we wouldn't be playing for Sheffield United. We'd be playing for Man City, because them boys don't make mistakes. But you'd be playing for Man United. They're the top level. We're trying to get to that level. We're not at that level, but we're trying to get there, and we're going to make mistakes. It's part and parcel of being a human being. I mean, would I go and sit in somebody's office if he's typed an email wrong and scream at him, effing this and effing that, and it wouldn't go down well, would it?
No, I don't think it probably would.
I think there's a respect element as well. I think I've bought it, like you say, I took the brunt of it, but I've got broad shoulders. I'm a grown man, and the fans who I meet, I always take it that the fans who I meet and speak to, who are polite, and the people who I speak to when outside of football who couldn't be any nicer. And I always take that as, well, you know, for everyone who shouts something bad, there's, you know, a split opinion.
Yeah.
I know that, I understand that. That's, you'd probably have, out of 10 people, 5 might say, oh yeah, we really like him, 5 might say, oh, get him out the team or do whatever, but you're never going to please everybody, are you? But I try to do the best job I can do, that I'm asked to do, and work hard every day to be the best version and give myself the best opportunity to be the best I can be. And as I said, it's life, isn't it? You can't please everybody. And I think the quicker you realise that, it's the thicker skinned you come, and you just learn to ride with it, and you can't shrink. You can't let them win. That's the thing. My mentality is you can't let them win.
And you are the Premier League record appearance maker for this club now.
So the half who like me are probably happy with that.
I would say you've had the last laugh there.
No, listen,
That must be a nice thing to have.
It's lovely. I'm really proud. Like, really, I'm proud.
Had you heard of Carl Bradshaw before you broke that record,
I knew,
by the way?
I knew I was close on the media day when Cookie tried to take an appearance off me, actually. And I said, I
have heard that you are a stats man. You know your stats inside out.
Yeah, I quite like all that. Quite boring, really. But I said to Kev, said, oh, George is 72 at the time. And I said, so am I. And he said, no, yours. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm 72. And I got the Premier League thing. I said, look, it says 72. So Kev was like, and George was like, yeah, it says starts. So he's having an argument. So we were laughing about that anyway. And then, yeah, I mean, I said, when I first signed here on the first day, if you'd have said you'll be the record Premier League holder for Sheffield United, I wouldn't.
You'd have gone, what?
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed you.
Ollie Norwood?
Exactly. I wouldn't have believed you. And to be sat here today in the Premier League is just mind-blowing, really. And you know, you have to pinch yourself at times because of how far we have come. The journey we've been on, it's been a roller coaster on it. It always is at this place, so I'm told. Through the years, It always has been. And some of the best, not just times of my career, but times of my life here. And I genuinely mean that. Some of the memories, I mean, when the day comes to hang the boots up, and it, unfortunately for some, it won't be for a long time yet, hopefully. But you'd like to think that you could come back here and as a fan, and I genuinely mean that when you find a home, and it's been a home for me, and it really has. And if you offered me the chance to probably finish my career here, I'd probably snap your hand off for it, I'll be honest. So that's the affiliation I feel with the club. And as you said, and it was something, again, I always go back to Chris, and it'll seem like I'm always buttering him up, but I'm not. But he said, like, when you go to a football club, you want to leave it in a better state than the one you found it in. And I think when the time comes to leave, hopefully Sheffield United will be in a better place than when I first signed, and all the memories will be part of the history.
Have you made plans for life after football?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet.
No. Do you want to stay in football in some capacity?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or maybe it's time to take up the painting and decorating.
Yeah, maybe I will. But no, I mean, it's all I've ever known all my life, and I think some of the stuff you see these days with young players and the way the game's changing. I mean, when we were saying about, you know, when Neil's documentary went out, and you see that to what it's like these days, and how you have to speak to people, and what's right to say, what's wrong to say. Everything's, you know, you're scared to say something in case you offend people or offend a group or this group or that group. You know, and you think sometimes, like, people are waiting to trip you up. Yeah. But no, I'd love to, if I got the opportunity, to pass on my experience in football and go into the coaching side, and because I think tactically I understand the game quite well. Seen it all, pretty much. In the Premier League and internationally, played in a big tournament there, and if I could pass on that experience to help players on their journey, then yeah, it's definitely something I'd go into coaching, because, like I said, I'd get kicked out of the house. You know, Mrs. would have enough of me if I was at home every day. So I need to get out and do something. Yeah.
Any regrets throughout your career?
No, I think I've maximised everything and got every ounce out of my career. I think I've maximised the effort that I can put in training, making sure, you know, pre-season, working away from here on my own. Something, you know, you've got to dedicate your life to football. And no, I'd like to think, no, I don't think I do have any regrets, because I think when I do eventually walk away, I can sit back on my sofa with my slippers on, or when I'm an old man, and say, well, I give it everything I had. And for some people that was good, for some people it wasn't, but I know deep down I've give everything I've got to be the best version of myself, and give myself the best opportunity to be the best player, and not just that, the best person I can be within the football clubs that I've played for.
Who's been the biggest influence on your career? You might have mentioned him a few times already, if I'm guessing correctly. It might be somebody else, I don't know.
There's a couple, really. I think Joycey was definitely one, definitely at Man United as a young age. Paul McGuinness from first signing, and then he became my youth team manager like 11 years later, which was a bit strange, because he signed me at 7, and then he was always around, and then he was the youth team manager. But Paul, he was football obsessed. He was obsessed with Man United and the history of Man United. He could, like, I knew the history of the Busby bit. Obviously, we knew everything. Like, we used to go down and train at the Cliff at nights when we was in the youth team, because the Busby Babes used to train there, and all that history. I mean, it was incredible to be in that dressing room where they'd all been, then the class of '92 had all been there, then the first Premier League winning team had been, and all these teams had been in that dressing room, and he used to love it, Paul. He was brilliant, and the education he'd give you, that side of it as well, learning about the history of the football club. Everybody knew the history of Manchester United when you played there, and I think it made it special. And I think they've lost that a little bit. They've lost the feel of Manchester United. I do think they've lost that a little bit. That's not for me to sit on a high horse and be like that, but I think it's a very different club from the one that I came through the academy, and the people that worked behind the scenes are obviously not all there anymore, which is a lot different. Paul was an influence. Joycey, obviously, with the advice he gave me, what I needed to do to make it as a professional. Mm-hmm. Those 5 bags of sugar, cut them out. I've never forgotten, honestly. And I remember the weight of them. I was like, they're heavy, them, aren't they? And I was like trying to hold it. I was like,
for anybody just tuning in right at that exact moment,
carry. They're bags of sugar. Yeah.
We're talking about sugar.
And trying to carry them, and you're trying to carry them 5 bags of sugar around the pitch with them 5 kilos, and I was like, wow, it makes sense. Yeah. And it clicked. So Joycey had a big influence, and I still speak to him now. He's still the odd message, still speak to him. Chris had a big influence, obviously, giving me the opportunity to play in the Premier League. Be forever grateful for that. And actually, it might sound a bit cheesy, but probably my wife. You know, she's stuck with. We've been through a lot. We've stuck together, and always just said, listen, whatever's best, you do it, and I've got your back. And that's the best thing you can hope for when, you know, you get that. And you know, I've dragged her down to Brighton, Fulham, Reading, and then we've moved back home now. Look at the last 5 years we've been at home, and we've been able to bring our boys up home, which has been nice up north, so they're not southerners, which is nice.
I like it.
But yeah, she's always just backed me 100%, and always just said whatever's best, I've got your back, and you go and do it. And that's, you know, you do need support, and she's been a rock. It's been difficult at times, as I say. Your career gets hard, and you try not to take it home, but it's so difficult not to at times.
It's inevitable, isn't it? It's going to go.
You're getting beat, and you know, do I need to just keep putting? Not that she knows much about football, but it's just the moral support that she gives. And
is she a football fan? I asked that question because mine isn't.
No, not at all. Hates it.
Which actually is quite good for me.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant for me.
Because otherwise I'd be talking football all of the time.
Up until probably me coming here, she didn't really pay much interest. It was just, I'm living away from home like that. It was just, we're moving again. All right, okay, and never mourned, never just got on with it. Right, okay, moved herself away from all her family as well, and we just had a baby, which was difficult. We new parents, 7 hours away from home without support, and everything from Brighton was a 48-hour trip, so we'd fly the night before and we wouldn't come back, so she's with a new bit. And never, as I said, never mourned one, never would. But I know if I ever had a problem, if I needed support, she's got my back 100%. So I'd like to say she's been a real big influence, definitely. Yeah.
So you have that kind of normality when you go
definitely,
home through
yeah,
the front door,
and I think that's something
is
as
important,
well. Yeah.
I guess, in a professional football.
I mean, my little boy, he's the best, my oldest boy. So we got to play a final with Fulham. He was only a baby, so he won't remember this bit. So Mrs. went with him to the game. So he likes to remind us, I've been to Wembley. As he's getting older, so we've said to him, your daddy played at Wembley. And yeah, I've been to Wembley. And we got there, obviously, last season with the semi-final. So my wife's saying to him, we're going to London this weekend. Daddy's playing at Wembley. And this is kids, do I have to go? It's like one of the biggest games of the season. I don't want to go, Mummy. I can't be bothered. And she said, well, we're all going as a family. Like, it's such a big occasion. I'm going to Wembley. Like, it's Wembley. And he was like, no, I'm not really that bothered, Mum. Can I just stay at home? And she said, well, no, because everybody's going. Like, nobody's going to look after you. But that brings the normality to it, where to him, I'm just dad. Like, he doesn't really bother about football. I mean, he comes every week. He's not really much interest, but I'm hoping the youngest one shows a bit of interest. But no, but they normalise everything for you, because to him, I'm daddy, and I'm the guy who beats up. I'm the guy who we play Spider-Man. I'm the guy who does all the drawing, and I'm just his dad. So it does normalise it for you, and I think that's one of the big things where I can go home and switch off, and that normality to life where everyday problems, and we all have it.
Yeah. You a pipe and slippers man then?
Slippers, yeah, probably not pipe. Probably just missed that generation.
Yeah.
Slippers and a beer.
But I get the impression that, and I've never had the impression of you that you're a kind of, look at me, I'm a professional footballer, blah, flash car. You might have a flash car, I don't know.
I don't drive, so that's a different story.
Okay, fair dues. We'll not go there. But how do you unwind at home? Are you watching football all the time at home?
Yeah,
I do. I
do love. I'm football obsessed. I love football. I watch whatever games on the telly.
Everybody needs to get away from
it. But then, yeah, I mean, like I said, they normalise it. They normalise life, and got me filling skips up, doing the bins, just doing normal, everyday jobs that everyone would do, because it's normal life, isn't it? We're not superstars. We are normal people. Well, we're not. We're normal people. We're just
kind of are now.
We're just fortunate that we've been given an ability and made the most of the ability to make a career out of it. But as I said to them, I'm Ollie. We met at 15, 16-year-old. We've been together since. We've been married 10 years. So I'm Ollie to her. I'm not a footballer to her. I'm Ollie. And as I said, I've still got the same group of friends who are quick to normalise things as well. So yeah, I'm quite happy to just shut the door and have a beer and switch off, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, just quite normal.
Maybe enjoy a bit of cricket? Because we didn't touch on this earlier. You were actually a really good cricketer, weren't you?
Yeah.
And played at the same cricket club as Jimmy Anderson.
Going back to the question, actually, then, if I wouldn't have made it in football, I probably would have tried to be a cricketer, because I was decent enough.
Were you there at the same time as Jimmy Anderson?
No,
he's the same cricket club as him?
He's 7 or 8 years older than me, so he was before me. But he was down there. He had a few injury problems, so he played a couple of games.
Right. Is he a mate of yours now then?
I know him through association. I can tap him up for tickets if you need any. Through association with somebody. I mean, we tapped him up for Headingley, so he got us in there, which was incredible. I mean, seeing sport at that elite level, because for players everybody always comes to watch us.
Yeah.
So they get to the build-up of the game, going down, like you say, Wembley, going in the box, going and seeing all these nice things. And as players, we're driven in, off the bus, in the dressing room, kit on, warm up, out, play.
Give us one thing about Oliver Norwood that we don't know, but perhaps should know?
Oh, that's a good one.
It could be anything. It could be a hidden talent you've got.
Yeah, I live quite a boring life, I'll be honest.
He wasn't
My
primed for this, as you can tell.
highest score cricket for the town team. I got 196. I got caught out on the boundary.
Good going.
Yeah, going for 200. I got caught on the boundary. It's not that interesting, really, is it? I ain't got much.
If that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be. It's not.
Well, that's probably why I would have tried cricket, because I could swing a bat as hard as I could. I used to hit it like I try and pass it, just boot it as hard as I can, or whack it as hard as I can with a bat.
I want to finish on Premier League now, really, and what your expectations are for this season.
To stay in the league. I mean, we can't look beyond that. We've had a difficult start. We know that. But I think I might be being deluded or whatever, but I think game by game we've improved. I think we have. I think performances have got better.
Mm-hmm.
We've added to the squad. We've added better players, better competition for places. I think the squad's in a really good place. Macca's back since the last game as well, so special talent, really good player, and great around the dressing room, like great kid. Just lovable, just unbelievable person. But as soon as he walked in, he just puts a smile on everyone's face. You know, he's just one of them people who he just makes everyone laugh. He's just got that personality. He's brilliant. So yeah, we've got him back. Cam's obviously up and running. Ollie Max back fit, which was I think we struggled without. All just it gives us that presence up there that maybe we lacked a little bit. Gus, Vinny, Benny, player Yasser's come in as well, and I think the squad's in a lot better place than it was when we first started the season, which you can tell that, and the performances have got stronger. And I thought we were lucky not to win the game against Everton, which would have been nice to get the season up and running. But if you can't win them, don't lose them. And apart from a world-class save at the end, I mean, still don't know how it didn't go in.
Unbelievable.
Even the second one that hits his head.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, I think we're in a good place, and I think as the season gets on, we'll get better. And not ashamed to say that 17th place is a good finish.
Could have chatted for a long, long time. In fact, we have chatted for a long time.
Yeah,
We could have gone
it's been good.
for a lot longer, but thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks
for having me.
It really has
been.
been.
Enjoyed
Thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ollie.
Appreciate it. No worries. Thank you.
There we go. Ollie Norwood has been in the hot seat. Who knows who'll be next? You'll have to wait and see, won't you? Thank you very much indeed for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Ta-da.